The Silent Journey Vertical Bar 101 Zen Street Oris from the Masters to Awaken You. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. In our bustling lives, filled with worries and sorrows, have you ever longed to return to a tranquil place within your soul where we can let go of all burdens, listen to our inner voice, and find true peace? There is an ancient treasure of wisdom passed down through thousands of years, contained within 101 wondrous Zen stories. Each story is like a doorway that opens to an inner realm, awakening hidden potentials and guiding us to genuine enlightenment. Let us live mindfully and step into this profoundly inspiring silent journey to discover precious gems from Zen masters, those who devoted their entire lives to contemplating and understanding the essence of existence. Together, we will immerse ourselves in these profound, deeply human stories to find true serenity and happiness in our hearts. 1. A cup of tea. Nan-in, a Japanese Zen master in the Meiji era, 1868-1912, received a university professor who came to inquire about Zen. Nan-in served tea. He poured a cup full and kept on pouring. The professor watched it overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. "It's overfull. No more will go in." "Like this cup," Nan-in said calmly. "You are full of your own opinions and preconceptions. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" 2. Finding a gem in a muddy road. Although Gudo was a national master, he still traveled like a wandering mendicant. One day on the road to Edo, an important cultural and political center, he came near a village called Takanaka. It was late and pouring rain. Gudo was soaked and his straw sandals were tattered. Reaching a small straw hut near the village, he saw several pairs of sandals by the window, so he wished to ask if he could buy a new pair. The woman of the house, seeing him cold and wet, kindly invited him to stay overnight. Gudo accepted and thanked her. He went to the family altar in the middle of the house and chanted some sutras. Then the woman's mother and her children came out to greet him. Noticing the whole family's sadness, Gudo asked the reason. "My husband is a gambler and a drunk," the young woman confessed. "When he wins at gambling, he drinks until he's completely drunk, then comes home to beat us. If he loses, he borrows money everywhere. Sometimes he's so drunk he doesn't return at all. What am I to do?" "Let me help," said Gudo. "I have some money here. Go buy a good bottle of wine and some appetizers. Then you should go rest. I will sit in meditation at the altar." At midnight, the husband came home, very drunk, shouting loudly, "Hey woman, I'm home. Is there anything to eat?" "Yes," Gudo replied. "I was caught in the rain, and your wife kindly let me stay here overnight. In return, I bought some wine and appetizers for you to enjoy." Pleased, the man drank all the wine and collapsed on the floor. Gudo meditated beside him. Early next morning, the man awakened, having forgotten everything from the night before. He asked Gudo, who was still in deep contemplation, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" "I am Gudo from Kyoto, traveling to Edo," the Zen master answered. Ashamed, the man repeatedly apologized to the national master. Gudo smiled. "All things in life are impermanent," he explained. "Life is very short. If you continue gambling and drinking, you will accomplish nothing and will only make your wife and children suffer." Suddenly, the man felt as if awakening from a fog. "Master, you are right," he declared. "How can I repay you for this teaching? Let me carry your things and accompany you for a while." "If you wish," Gudo agreed. They walked together for about 3 miles. Then Gudo encouraged him to turn back. "Please allow me 5 more miles, the man pleaded. They kept walking. "Now you really should return," Gudo urged. "At least another 10 miles, the man insisted. "Go home right now," Gudo said after they had gone the 10 miles. "Allow me to follow you for life," the man declared. Modern Zen masters of Japan traced their lineage back to the successor of Gudo. His name was Munan, the man who never returned to his home. 3. Is that so? Hoquin was highly praised by his neighbors as a truly virtuous person. Near his temple lived a beautiful girl whose parents ran a food store. One day, her parents discovered she was pregnant. At first, she would not confess who the father was. After much harassment, she finally pointed to Hakuin. In great anger, the parents went to confront Hakuin. "Is that so?" was all he would say. After the child was born, it was brought to Hakuin. By then, his reputation had been shattered, yet that did not trouble him. He lovingly cared for the child. obtaining milk from neighbors and providing everything it needed. 1 year later, the girl could no longer bear the lie. She confessed the child's true father was a young man who worked at the fish market. The parents immediately went to Hakuin to apologize, asking for the baby back. Hakuin willingly returned the child, simply saying, "Is that so?" 4. Obeying. When Bankei was preaching, not only Zen students but also people of all sects came to listen. He never quoted sutras, nor got lost in arguments. Instead, his words went straight into the hearts of his listeners. His large audiences angered a priest of the Nichiren sect, who believed his disciples were leaving him to listen to Zen. The proud priest came to the temple and challenged Bankei. "Hey, teacher of Zen," he called out, "wait a minute. Anyone who respects you will listen to you, but a fellow like me will never respect you. Can you make me obey you?" "Come up beside me," Bankei said. With pride, the priest pushed through the crowd to Bankei. Bankei smiled. "Stand on my left side." The priest did so. "No," Bankei said. "We can talk better if you stand on my right side. Step over here." The priest stepped to the right. "You see?" Bankei calmly observed. "You are obeying me, and I think you're a very courteous person. Now, sit down and listen." 5. If you love, love openly. 20 monks and 1 nun named Eshun were practicing Zen with a certain master. Though Eshun had shaved her head and wore simple robes, she was exquisitely beautiful. Some of the monks secretly fell in love with her. One of them sent her a private letter, requesting a clandestine meeting. Eshun did not reply. The next day, after the master's lecture ended, Eshun rose and addressed the one who had written her. "If you truly love me, step up here now and enfold me in your arms." 6. No affection. In China, there was an old woman who had supported a monk for over 20 years. She built him a hut and provided all his meals so he could practice Zazen. Finally, she wanted to see how far he had progressed. She found a young girl filled with desire. "Go and embrace him," she told her, "and then ask, 'What next?'" The girl visited the monk and immediately began caressing him, asking him what he intended to do next. "A tree grows on a cold rock in winter," the monk replied poetically. "No warmth anywhere." The girl returned and related what he had said. "To think I have fed that fellow these 20 years, the old woman exclaimed indignantly. He showed no compassion, did not even explain the girl's need. He doesn't have to respond to her lust, but at least he should show some kindness. Without further ado, she burned down his hut. 7. Announcement. Tanzan wrote 60 postal cards on the last day of his life, instructing an attendant to mail them. Then he died. Cards was written, "I am departing from this world. This is my last announcement. Tanzan, the 27th of July, 1892. 8. Great waves. Early in the Meiji era, there was a sumo wrestler named Onami. Great waves. Onami was tremendously strong and well-versed in wrestling techniques. In private matches, he often threw even his teacher, yet in public tournaments, he would become so timid that even his own pupils could beat him. He felt he needed help from a Zen master, and fortunately, a roving priest named Hakuju was staying at a small temple nearby. Onami told the master of his distress. "Your name is Great Waves," the priest advised, "so stay in this temple tonight. Envision that you are those great waves. You are no longer a timid wrestler. You are those huge waves sweeping everything before you swallowing up all in your path. Continue in that spirit, and you will become the greatest wrestler in the land." The priest then retired. Onami sat zazen, trying to imagine that he was truly the waves. At first, his thoughts wandered. Gradually, however, he became waves. As night advanced, the waves grew bigger. They swept away the flower vases in front of the altar. Even the statue of the Buddha was engulfed. By dawn, the temple was nothing but an expanse of ocean. In the morning, the priest found Onami smiling serenely. He patted the wrestler's shoulder. "Now, nothing can trouble you," he said. "You are those great waves. You will sweep all before you." That day, Onami easily won his matches, and from then on, no one in Japan could defeat him. 9. The moon cannot be stolen. Ryokan, a Zen master, lived a simple life in a small hut at the foot of a mountain. One night, a thief visited his hut only to find nothing to steal. Ryokan returned and caught him. "You may have come a long way to see me," he told the robber. and you should not leave empty-handed. Please take my clothes as a gift." The thief was bewildered. He took the clothes and slunk away. Ryokan sat naked, gazing at the moon. "Poor fellow," he murmured. "I wish I could give him this beautiful moon." 10. The last poem of Hoshin. Zen master Hoshin lived many years in China, then returned to teach in the remote northeastern part of Japan. When he was very old, he finally told his disciples a story he had once heard in China. This is the story, he said. "One year, on the last day of the 12th month, Tokufuhu was very old and announced to his disciples, 'I shall not live to see next year, so you fellows should take good care of me this year.' The students thought he was joking, but because he was a great teacher, they dutifully looked after him. On New Year's Eve, Tokufu said, 'You have been good to me. Tomorrow afternoon when the snow stops, I shall leave you.' The disciples laughed, thinking he was just in high spirits. But at midnight, snow began to fall, and by morning it was quite thick. Yet, no one saw their teacher all that day. When they finally searched the temple, they found him in the Zen hall he had passed away. After relating this story, Hoshin told his disciples, 'It really is not difficult for a Zen master to know the time he will die, but if he wishes to, he can do so.' 'Master,' asked one disciple, 'can you do it too?' 'Yes,' Hoshin answered. 'I will show you what I can do 7 days from now.' None of the disciples really believed him, and no one said anything when he gathered them all. 7 days ago, Hoshin reminded them, 'I said I was going to leave you. According to Zen custom, a person should write a farewell poem, but I am neither a poet nor a calligrapher. One of you write down my last words.' The disciples thought he was joking, but one prepared to record what he might say. 'Are you ready?' Hoshin asked. 'Yes, sir,' answered the disciple. Then Hoshin dictated, 'I came from brilliance, and returned to brilliance. What is this?' The poem required one more line to be in the proper haiku form, so the disciple ventured, 'Master, we are short one line.' Hoshin roared like a lion, 'Ka!' and died. 11. The story of Lady Shunkai. Shunkai, also known as Suzu, was a stunningly beautiful woman. In her youth, she was forced into a marriage, which soon failed, so she enrolled in a university to study philosophy. Everyone who saw her fell secretly in love. Wherever she went, she won hearts. Dissatisfied with philosophy, she then went to a Zen monastery to study, and soon the monks were smitten. Shunkai's life was indeed filled with beauty and charm. Eventually, she became a Zen devotee in Kyoto. Senior monks at Kennen Temple praised her sincerity. One of them befriended her and helped her realize Zen. The abbot, Mokurai, Silent Thunder, was very strict. He firmly maintained the precepts and insisted everyone follow them equally. Yet, in modern Japan, some monks married, and Mokurai spent a lot of energy driving women away from his monasteries. Whenever they appeared, though, the more he drove them away, the more they came. The wife of the head monk began to get jealous of Shunkai, and hearing how the monks praised her spiritual understanding made her furious. Eventually, she spread rumors about Shunkai and her monk friend, resulting in them both being expelled from the temple. I might be somewhat at fault, Shunkai thought, but the wife of the head monk shouldn't get to stay in the temple when my friend was wrongly expelled. That night, Shunkai set fire to the 500-year-old temple. The authorities arrested her the next day. A young lawyer took note of her plight and offered to help reduce her sentence. "Don't bother," she said, "because I will commit another crime so I can be imprisoned again." After 7 years, even the 60-year-old prison guard was infatuated with her. When she was finally released, no one wanted to befriend her. Even the Zen monks, those who proclaimed that enlightenment is to be attained in this lifetime with this body, shunned her. Shunkai fell ill and grew weak. Eventually, she met a priest from the Shinshu sect and was taught to recite the name of Canon Bodhisattva. This brought her some peace. She passed away in her prime, still very beautiful at age 30. In her times of poverty, she had written her life story to make a living. When it spread through Japan, those who had once shunned, envied, and reviled her wept with remorse. 12. The Happy Chinese, or Hote, the Laughing Buddha. Anyone who walks through a Chinatown in the West has likely seen statues of a big-bellied figure with a cloth sack. Business people call him the Laughing Buddha, or the God of Prosperity, but his real name was Hote, who lived during the Tang Dynasty. He never claimed to be a Zen teacher or gather disciples. Instead, he wandered the streets with his large cloth bag, which contained candy, fruit, and cakes that kind people gave him. He would freely distribute these to children who gathered around him, thus creating a small playground in the streets. Whenever he met someone who considered themselves devout, he held out his hand and said, "Give me a penny." If asked to preach, he replied, "Give me a penny." One day, while happily playing with a group of children, a Zen monk passed by, pausing to ask, "What is the meaning of Zen?" At once the happy Chinese placed his bag on the ground in silent answer. "Then," asked the monk, "what is the actualization of Zen?" Immediately, he slung the bag over his shoulder and went his way. 13. One Buddha. During the Meiji era in Tokyo, two famous Zen masters had very different personalities. One was Unsho of the Shingon school. He diligently kept precepts, never drank wine, and never ate after 11 a.m. The other was Tanzan, who taught philosophy at the Imperial University and completely ignored precepts. When hungry, he ate. When sleepy, he slept even in the daytime. One day, Unsho visited Tanzan. Finding him drinking wine, he exclaimed, "Brother, won't you stop that?" "I never drink," Unsho proclaimed. "A person who doesn't drink is hardly human," Tanzan teased. "Are you calling me inhuman simply because I don't partake in drunken revelry?" Unsho raised his voice. "If you're not a human being," Tanzan replied, "then what are you?" "A Buddha," said Unsho. 14. A muddy road. Tanzan and Aikido were once traveling together along a muddy road in pouring rain. Around a bend, they met a lovely girl in a silk kimono and sash who could not cross the intersection. "Come on, girl," said Tanzan at once. Lifting her in his arms, he carried her over the mud. Aikido did not speak again until that evening when they reached a lodging temple. Then he could no longer restrain himself and said, "We monks don't approach women, especially young and lovely ones. Why did you do that?" "My friend," said Tanzan, "I set the girl down way back there. Are you still carrying her?" 15. Shon and his mother. Shon became a Soto Zen master. His father died when he was just a monk, leaving him to care for his old mother. Every time he went to a monastery, he brought his mother along. Because she was always with him, they could not lodge with the other monks, so he built a little hut near each temple in which they stayed, practicing diligently. Shon often copied sutras to sell for a living. Whenever he bought fish for his mother, the townspeople mocked him, saying he was breaking the precept, but he paid no attention. Even so, his mother felt hurt that her son faced such talk. Finally, she told Shon, "I think I can become a nun and practice vegetarianism." She did so and studied hard. Shon was also fond of music and played the stringed koto skillfully. His mother could play the koto too. On nights with a bright moon, they played duets. One evening, a young woman passing by heard the music and invited Shon to her home the next evening to perform. He agreed. Soon, Shon met her again in the street and thanked her for the hospitality. People ridiculed him for associating with a prostitute. One day, Shon had to travel and teach at a distant temple. Several months passed before he returned, only to find his mother had died. They did not know where he was to inform him, so they conducted her funeral without him. He knocked on her coffin with his staff and called, "Mother, your son has returned." Then, answering in his own voice, "I am glad you are back, son." "Yes, I am also glad," Shon responded. Then, turning to those present, he announced, "The funeral is over. Kindly bury her properly." When Shon was old, knowing he had little time left, he called his disciples one morning and told them he would pass away at noon. He lit incense for images of his mother and teachers, wrote a poem, and these were his last words. "I have devoted my life fully in these 56 years, wandering the world. Now the rain has ended and the clouds are dispersing. There is a full moon in a clear sky." His disciples gathered around, reciting sutras as he quietly left them. 16. Not far from the realm of Buddha. A university student visited Gasan and asked, "Have you ever read the Bible?" "No, please read it for me," Gasan said. The student opened it to the Gospel of Matthew and began reading. "Why do you worry about clothes? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his glory was clothed like one of these. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Gasan observed, "Whoever spoke these words I consider an enlightened being. The student continued reading. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks will be opened. Excellent, said Gasan. Whoever said that is not far from the Buddha realm. 17. Sparing in words. A young doctor named Kusuda in Tokyo had a friend who studied Zen. The doctor asked, "What is Zen?" "I cannot tell you exactly," the friend said. "But one thing is certain, if you understand Zen, you will not be afraid of death." "Fine," answered Kusuda. "I will try. Where can I find a teacher?" "Go to Nanin," the friend replied. So Kusuda went to Nanin carrying a razor-sharp sword with him to test whether the Zen master was really unafraid of death. But the moment Nanin saw Kusuda, he exclaimed, "How are you, dear friend? We have not seen each other in a long time." Kusuda found himself speechless, for he and Nanin had never met. Thinking he had lost his chance to test the master, Kusuda asked to learn Zen. "Zen is not difficult," Nanin said. "Since you are a doctor, take good care of your patients with compassion. That is Zen." Kusuda visited Nanin 3 times. Each time he was told to return home and look after patients. "But my friend said if one learns Zen, one loses the fear of death," Kusuda complained. "I only hear about caring for patients. If that is all, I am not coming back." Nanin smiled and said, "I have been too strict with you. Let me give you a koan." He assigned the first koan from the Gateless Gate, the Mu, No Story of Jashu. For 2 years, Kusuda meditated on MU. Still, Nanin told him, "You have not passed." Another 1.5 years passed, his mind grew calm, and the concept of MU became absolute. He began caring for patients without even noticing it. He no longer feared death. The next time Kusuda visited Nanin, the master merely smiled. 18. Fable. In a sutra, the Buddha recounted this fable. A man crossing a field encountered a tiger. He fled, the tiger chasing after him. Reaching a precipice, he caught hold of a vine and swung himself down over the edge. The tiger sniffed above. Trembling, the man looked down to where, far below, another tiger prowled, waiting. 2 mice, one white and one black, began gnawing the vine. Just then, he saw a luscious strawberry near him. Gripping the vine with one hand, he plucked the strawberry with the other. How sweet it tasted. 19. 1. Note. Whoever visits the Obaku Temple in Kyoto sees inscribed over the gate the characters for one note in large letters. This master calligraphy is attributed to Zen Master Kozen 200 years ago. In fact, he did the writing on paper, and craftsmen then carved it into the wooden gate. When Kozen first wrote the calligraphy, a disciple stood by grinding ink in large quantities, continually criticizing the master's writing. "No good," the disciple told Kozen after his first attempt. "How about this one? Worse than the first." Kozen patiently wrote one sheet after another. After 84 tries, the disciple was still dissatisfied. Needing a break, the disciple stepped outside briefly. Kozen seized the chance and quickly wrote one note in a free flow. When the disciple returned, he exclaimed, "A masterpiece." 20. Mother's advice. Jiun, a Shingon monk, was a Sanskrit scholar during the Tokugawa era. As a youth, he often lectured his fellow monks. Upon hearing of this, his mother wrote him this letter. "My son, I do not believe you became a monk in order to turn yourself into a living dictionary. Preaching with no end, reveling in your arguments and self-satisfaction, gains you nothing. I want you to stop all this lecturing. Withdraw to a small hermitage in some mountain wilderness. Dedicate every moment to sincere zazen, and perhaps you will penetrate the way." 21. The sound of one hand. Mokurai, Silent Thunder, was a Zen master of Kennen Temple. He had a disciple named Toyo, only 12 years old. Each morning and evening, Toyo saw older disciples visit Mokurai to receive Zen guidance and koans for meditation. Toyo yearned to do zazen. "You are too young," Mokurai said, but Toyo insisted. Finally, the master relented. One evening, Toyo approached Mokurai, bowed respectfully, and sat before the master in silence. "You can hear the sound of 2 hands when they clap," Mokurai said. "Now show me the sound of 1 hand." Toyo bowed and went to his room, meditating on this koan. From his room, Toyo heard distant music from local geisha. "Yes, I have it," he thought. The next time he went to see Mokurai, he imitated the geisha music. No, no, Mokurai remarked. That is not the sound of one hand. You have not grasped it. Trying to evade the distracting music, Toyo found a quieter place, yet he heard water dripping. The next time, he mimicked the dripping water for Mokurai, but the master said that was also not it. Then came chirping crickets. Still not it. Toyo tried many sounds, none were correct. For over a year, he pondered the sound of one hand. At last, he went beyond all sounds. Entering a profound stillness, he realized the true sound of one hand. 22. Heart of Fire. Soyen Shaku, the first Zen master to come to America, often said, "My heart burns like fire, but my eyes are as cool as dead ashes." His daily rules were: 1. In the morning, before dressing, light incense and do zazen. 2. Retire exactly at a set time. 3. Eat at regular times. Eat only enough, do not overindulge. 4. Receive guests as though they were your own family. Treat your own family as if they were guests. 5. Watch what you say and continually think upon it. 6. When an opportunity arises, do not let it pass. Always think twice before acting. 7. Do not regret the past. Look toward the future. 8. Have the fearless attitude of a hero and the loving heart of a child. 9. At night, go to sleep as if it is your last time. Upon waking, leave the bed instantly as if you discard an old pair of shoes. 23. Eishun's departure. When the nun Ishun, over 60, was about to pass away, she asked the monks to build a large bonfire in the temple courtyard. Calmly sitting in the midst of the blazing fire, she was about to depart. A monk cried out, "Is it hot in there?" "Only someone foolish like you would worry about such a trivial matter," Ishun replied. The flames grew and she passed away. 24. Reciting sutras. A farmer asked a Tendai priest to recite sutras for his late wife. After the recitation, he inquired, "Do you think my wife will gain merit from this recitation?" "Not only your wife," the priest explained. "All living beings benefit from the sutra recitation." "If you say all living beings benefit," the farmer argued, "that's no good. My wife is weak, so they'll all snatch up her share. Please recite only for her." The priest explained that Buddhists strive to dedicate merit universally. "That may be a lofty teaching," the farmer concluded, "but I want an exception. My rude neighbor made my life miserable. Exclude him from all beings, please." 25. Obeying to the point of death. Suiwo, a disciple of Hakuin, was a fine Zen teacher. One summer training period, a disciple from the southern islands came to study, but was stuck on the koan, hear the sound of one hand. He tried 3 years, yet failed. One night, he came in tears. "I must return home in shame," he said. "Wait 1 week, Suiwo advised him. "Meditate with all your might, still no success. Try another week," Suiwo urged. No result. Another week, and again, nothing. Despairing, the disciple asked to leave, but Suiwo requested 5 more days. Again, no success. At last, Suiwo said, "Sit 3 more days. If you still cannot pass this koan, you better kill yourself." Midway through the second night, the disciple was suddenly enlightened. 26. Debate for a night's stay. Traveling monks in old Japan often were allowed to stay in a temple if they won a debate on Buddhism with a resident priest. If they lost, they had to move on. At a temple in the north, 2 brother monks lived together. The elder was very learned, the younger a dullard who had just one eye. One day, a traveling monk arrived. The older brother, tired from long hours of study, told the younger brother to debate in silent dialogue. Shortly afterwards, the traveler rose and sought out the elder brother. "Your younger brother is a marvelous debater," he exclaimed. "He defeated me." "Relate the dialogue to me," said the elder. "Well," the traveler explained, "first I held up 1 finger, representing the Buddha. Your brother held up 2 fingers, signifying Buddha and his teachings. I then raised 3 fingers, indicating Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Your brother clenched his fist, showing all 3 arise from one reality. Thus he won, and I have no reason to stay." With that, the traveler departed. "Where's that fellow?" the younger brother suddenly burst in. "I'm going to thrash him." "What happened?" the elder inquired. "The instant he saw me, that insolent fellow stuck up 1 finger to insult me, suggesting I only have 1 eye. Because he was a stranger, I pretended to be polite and held up 2 fingers to congratulate him for having 2 eyes. Then he made it worse by waving 3 fingers, implying that between the 2 of us we only have 3 eyes. So I got mad and swung my fist to punch him, but he ran off. That's it. 27. The voice of true feeling. After Bankei passed away, a blind man who lived near the temple said to a friend, "Since I cannot see faces, I judge a person's character by the sound of their voice." Ordinarily, when people congratulate others on their happiness, I also hear a subtle tone of envy. When they express condolences, I hear secret pleasure as if they're glad something was left for them to gain. But in all the years I listened to Bankei, I never heard even the slightest note of insincerity. When he said he was happy, I heard only happiness. When he expressed sadness, it was genuine sorrow. He was perfectly genuine. 28. Open your own treasure house. Daiju visited the Zen master Baso in China seeking the way. Baso asked, "What are you searching for?" "I am searching for enlightenment," Daiju replied. "You have your own treasure house. Why search outside?" Baso said. "Where is my treasure house?" Daiju asked. "The very question you just asked is your treasure house," Baso replied. Daiju awakened at that moment. Later, he often urged his friends, "Open your own treasure house and use it freely." 29. No water, no moon. When the nun Chiyono was studying Zen under Master Buko of Engaku, she had long meditated without awakening. One night, she was carrying an old pail filled with water. The bamboo strip that held it together broke, and the bottom fell out. Just at that moment, Chiyono attained a deep realization. She wrote this verse. "In this way and that, I tried to save the old pail. Since the bamboo strip was wearing thin, suddenly the bottom fell out. No more water in the pail, no more moon in the water." 30. A visiting card. Keichu, a famous Zen priest of the Obaku school, was the abbot of Tofuku Temple in Kyoto. One day, the governor of Kyoto came to visit him for the first time. The governor's attendant presented Keichu with a card that read, "Kitagaki, Governor of Kyoto." "I have no business with such a person," Keichu said to the attendant. "Tell him to go away." The attendant returned with apologies, but the governor then took a pen, struck out the words "Governor of Kyoto," and asked the attendant to present the card again. "Oh, Kitagaki?" exclaimed Keichu. "Yes, I'm happy to see that fellow." 31. Everything is the best. When Banzan was walking through a market, he overheard a conversation between a butcher and his customer. "Give me the best piece of meat you have," the customer requested. "Everything in my shop is the best," the butcher replied. "You cannot find a piece of meat here that is not top quality." Hearing this, Banzan was immediately enlightened. 32. Time is precious. A feudal lord once asked Zen Master Takuan how best to use time. He felt time passed too slowly while he spent his days sitting rigidly in court receiving audiences. Takuan wrote 8 Chinese characters and handed them to the Lord. "No day comes twice. Time is a precious jewel. This day will not come again. Each minute is worth a priceless gem." 33. Mokusen's hand. Mokusen Hiki was a Zen priest living in a temple in the province of Tamba. A disciple's wife complained about her husband's stinginess. Mokusen visited the wife and held his clenched fist before her face. "What do you mean by that?" she asked in surprise. "Suppose my hand was always like this," Mokusen said. "What would you call it?" "Deformed," the woman answered. Then he opened his hand flat. "Suppose it was always like this. What then?" "Another kind of deformity," she replied. "If you understand that much," Mokusen concluded, "you are a good wife." Then he left. After that visit, the woman wholeheartedly supported her husband in his generosity and frugality. 34. One smile in a lifetime. Mokugen never smiled until the day he passed away. When he was about to die, he gathered his disciples around him. "You have studied with me for over 10 years, he told them. "Show me your real understanding. Whoever expresses this most clearly shall be my successor and receive my robe and bowl." Everyone watched Mokugen's stern face, but no one answered. Inko, a disciple who has served the master for a long time, stepped forward. Pushing the tray forward a little, he then returned it to its place wordlessly. That was his reply to the challenge. Mokugen's expression became even more severe. "Is that all you understand?" he asked Incho. Incho moved the tray forward again and returned it. A bright smile suddenly broke across Mokugen's features. "You rascal," he said to Enko. "You have studied with me for 10 years, yet never saw my entire body. Take the robe and bowl, they belong to you. 35, every minute is Zen. Before anyone can teach others, a Zen student must live closely with a master at least 10 years. Tenno, having completed such a period of study, decided to visit Nanin, his final teacher. One day, Nanin said, "It seems you would like to teach others." Tenno replied, "Yes, I do." "Then show me how well you understand Zen," Nanin said. Tenno spoke freely, but Nanin considered his words inadequate. Tenno made more efforts, but Nanin still was not satisfied. Finally, Tenno gave up. He was humiliated by his failure. He asked for instructions, and Nanin said, "Study the mastery of every moment." Tenno was so distressed that he eventually left Nanin. Later, Tenno discovered how to do Zazen in each instant. He returned to Nanin and never faltered again. Note, the original Vietnamese text version of this story is somewhat different there. It is an adapted example consistent with "every minute is Zen." 36. A rain of flowers. Subhuti was a disciple of the Buddha who understood the power of emptiness, the viewpoint that nothing exists except through interactions of subject and object. One day, Subhuti was meditating under a tree when flowers began to fall around him. "We are offering you flowers," the devas whispered. Subhuti answered, "I have not said anything about emptiness." "You have not spoken of emptiness, and we have not heard emptiness," responded the devas. "This is true emptiness." Flowers rained upon Subhuti like this. 37. Tetsugen's 3 versions of the sutras. Tetsugen, a devout follower of Zen in Japan, resolved to publish the sutras in Japanese. At that time, they existed only in Chinese. To print them would require 60,000 wooden blocks, a tremendous undertaking. Tetsugen traveled throughout the country, collecting donations. Some gave him large amounts, others a few coins, but he thanked each donor alike. After 10 years, Tetsugen had enough money to begin. However, at that time, the Uji River overflowed, causing famine. Tetsugen used all his collected funds to help the starving. Then he resumed his mission of collecting again. Several years later, an epidemic raged. Tetsugen again spent all he had gathered to help the suffering. He started anew a 3rd time, and after 20 years, he finally succeeded in printing the sutras. The blocks that produced this first edition are on display at Obaku Monastery in Kyoto. People in Japan tell their children that Tetsugen made 3 sets of sutras, and that the first 2 are even more meritorious than the last. 38. Gisho's career. Gisho received novice ordination at 10, training like other young monks. By 16, she pursued advanced Zen under various masters 3 years with Unzan, 6 with Gukkei, but still she had no breakthrough. Finally, she reached Zen master Enzan. He showed her no gentleness, sometimes roaring at her or slapping her face in order to awaken her true mind. She trained with him diligently for 13 years until she finally attained what she sought. Enzan honored her with a poem praising her single-mindedness, and Gisho later established her own small Zen community in Banshu province. She trained 200 nuns until her death, which came on a mid-autumn night. 39. Dream practice. "Our master sometimes takes a midday nap," said a disciple of Soyen Shaku. "If we ask why," he explained, "I go into the dream realm to meet the sages, as Confucius did. One scorching afternoon, some of us dozed off. The master scolded us. We went into the dream realm to meet the sages like Confucius did." We laughed. "And what did the sages say?" the master demanded. "We asked them if they saw our teacher down there each day, but they said they'd never even heard of him." 40. Jashu's Zen. Jashu started his Zen study at age 60 and continued until he was 80. He taught Zen from age 80 to 120. One day, a student asked him, "If there is nothing in my mind, what should I do?" Jashu replied, "Then throw it out." "But if there's nothing, how can I throw it out?" the student pressed. "Well," said Jashu, "carry it away then." 41. The dead man's answer. When Mamiyahu later became a great lecturer came to study with a Zen master, he was given the koan about the sound of one hand clapping. Though he struggled with it intensely, he made little headway. The master said, "You haven't truly tried. You're still entangled in thoughts of food, possessions, and the sound itself. Better if you just die so the koan is resolved. Next time the master asked him, "So, what is the sound of one hand?" Mamiya fell down as if dead. "Okay, so you're dead," the master observed. "But how about the sound of one hand?" "I still haven't solved it," Mamiya replied, looking up. "A dead person can't speak," roared the master. "Get out." 42. The life of a beggar. Tosui was once a renowned Zen teacher, abbot of many monasteries, giving talks in many regions. Then he announced that he would stop teaching and disbanded his assembly. He disappeared and no one knew where he went. 3 years later, a student discovered Tosui among a group of beggars under a bridge. He begged the master to teach him. "If you can live as I do for 2 days, I'll instruct you," Tosui replied. The student dressed as a beggar, living together under the bridge. The first day passed. That night, one of the beggars died, so Tosui and the student carried the corpse to the mountain and buried it. Tosui slept well afterward, but the student found it impossible to doze off. Next morning, Tosui said, "We won't have to beg for food today. Our dead friend left some behind." The student felt nauseous, so he couldn't eat. "I told you," Tosui said, "you can't really live the way I do, so don't bother me anymore." 43. The thief who became a disciple. Late one night, Shichiri Kojun was reciting sutras when a thief crept in, demanding money or his life. Shichiri calmly said, "Don't make a fuss, the money is in that drawer, take what you want." Then he resumed reciting. A moment later, Shichiri added, "But don't take it all. I need some to pay taxes tomorrow." The thief gathered most of the money and started to leave. "Don't forget to say thank you," said Shichiri. The thief mumbled thanks and fled. A few days later, the thief was caught and confessed everything, including his encounter with Shichiri. When Shichiri was summoned as a witness, he testified, "He did not steal from me. I gave him the money, and he even said thank you." After finishing his prison sentence, the man found Shichiri and became one of his disciples. 44. Right and wrong. During one retreat at Bankei's monastery, a certain student was caught stealing. He was reported to Bankei with the request that the culprit be expelled. Bankei ignored the case. Later, the same student was caught again, yet Bankei still took no action. This angered other students. They drew up a petition demanding the offender's dismissal, threatening to leave en masse if not. Bankei summoned everyone. "You are wise and understand right from wrong," he told them. "You can go study somewhere else if you wish. But this poor brother does not even know right from wrong. Who will teach him if I don't? I must keep him here." Tears streamed from the wrongdoer's face. All desire to steal vanished. 45. Planting the fields. A farmer insisted a Tendai priest recite sutras specifically for his late wife alone, because he felt any universal dedication of merit might be shared by enemies or others. Note, this theme overlaps with story number 24, likely duplication or an alternate version. Omitted here because it closely resembles an earlier story reciting sutras. 46. The Greedy Artist. Gessen was a priest painter. He always insisted on advance payment and demanded high fees. People called him the Greedy Artist. Once, a beautiful courtesan hired him to paint a picture in front of some guests. Gessen quickly finished the painting, asked a large amount of money, and she paid. Then the courtesan exclaimed, "Gessen's paintings are lovely, but his mind is filthy with greed. His money lust taints his brush. The painting is only fit for my undergarments." She lifted her skirt and demanded a new painting on the back of her underwear. "How much do you want?" she asked. Gessen demanded even more. After painting it, he left. Later, it was discovered Gessen had good reason for his attitude. 1. Famine often struck his home province, and the wealthy refused to help, so Gessen quietly stored up rice in a hidden warehouse to feed the poor. 2. The road from his village to the national temple was in terrible shape. He wanted to repair it for weary travelers. 3. When his master died, Gessen longed to build a temple in his honor. After accomplishing all 3, Gessen threw away his brush and retired to the mountains, never painting again. 47. Exact placement. Sen no Rikyu, a tea master, wanted to hang a flower basket on a column. He asked a carpenter to help, moving it this way or that, up or down, until precisely right. "That's it," Rikyu finally said. Hoping to tease the master, the carpenter marked the spot but pretended to forget. He kept pointing to other positions. Yet Rikyu's sense of placement was so exact, he only approved when it returned to the original spot. 48. The Black-Nosed Buddha. A nun yearned for enlightenment and carved a gold-inlaid Buddha statue. She carried it everywhere. After some time, she went to a rural temple with many Buddha statues, each enshrined on its own altar. She placed her statue there and lit incense exclusively for it, not wanting the smoke to waft to the others. So she created a funnel that directed the incense smoke onto her own statue alone. Over time, her statue's nose became black, with soot quite bizarre indeed. 49. Ryonin's Awakening. The original text numbering seems slightly off, or emerged around number 48. We continue with the content as given. Ryonin was born in 1797, a granddaughter of the famous general Shingen. Thanks to her poetry and beauty, by 17 she served the empress. The future was bright, but the empress died unexpectedly, shattering Ryonin's illusions of worldly life. She desired to devote herself to Zen. Her relatives objected, forcing her to marry, but she secured a promise. After bearing 3 children, she would be free to become a nun. She fulfilled that by age 25. Freed of obligations, she shaved her head and took the name Ryonin, realization, wandering in search of a Zen master. She went first to Tetsugyu, but he refused her because of her beauty. Then to Hakuo, who also refused for the same reason. Ryonin then took a hot iron to her face, scarring it forever. Finally accepted, she left a poem inscribed on a mirror. In palace life, I burn incense to perfume my clothes. Now, as a mendicant, I burn my face to enter a Zen temple. Just before her death, she penned another verse. 66 times have these eyes beheld the changing of autumn leaves. I have said enough about moonlight. Ask no more. Listen to the voice of pines and cedars when no wind stirs. 50. Sour bean curd. In the Vietnamese text, number 49, 50, 51 vary a bit in ordering. This is number 51 in the original. We continue with number 50 as it appears in the running text. Dario was the cook monk at Bankei's temple. Concerned for his elderly master's health, Dario prepared fresh tofu for Bankei, more delicately than the standard fare served to the other disciples. Bankei noticed his tofu looked different and asked who was cooking. When he realized the cook was making special food for him, Bankei withdrew to his room and locked the door. Dario stood outside, apologizing. For 7 days, Bankei remained locked inside, and Dario continued to beg forgiveness. Finally, another disciple said loudly, "Master is elderly, but the young cook will die if he is not allowed to eat or rest." Bankei opened the door, smiling. "In future, I eat the same as everyone else," he told Dario. "Remember this well when you're the master." 51. Your light may go out. A Tendai student came to Gasan's Zen temple. After several years, he planned to leave. Gasan advised him, "Studying widely and listening to many sermons is good, but remember, if you do not practice Zazen regularly, your light of enlightenment may fade." 52. The donor should be grateful. When Saisetsu became master of Engaku Temple in Kamakura, he needed larger halls because of the many disciples. Umezu Seibei, a merchant from Edo, pledged 500 ryo, a very large sum, and carried it to the master. Saisetsu just said, "Fine, I will take it." Umezu was upset. With 500 ryo, you could live well for a year, and Saisetsu had barely said thanks. "Even I, a wealthy man, think 500 ryo is a great amount," Umezu said. "You want me to thank you for it?" asked Saisetsu. "Why? The donor should be grateful." 53. Parting words. Ikkyu, the famous Zen master of the Ashikaga period, was also the son of an emperor. His mother left the palace to practice Zen at a temple, and Ikkyu followed. When his mother died, she left him this final letter. To Ikkyu, "I have finished my work in this life and am returning to eternity. I wish you to become a fine Zen student and realize your Buddha nature. Then you will know whether I have fallen into hell or not, and whether we can be together or not. If you become one who knows that Buddha and his disciples are all your servants, you ought to stop your foolish investigations. Buddha taught for 49 years but found it unnecessary to utter a single word, and you must understand why. Yet if you don't, at least stay away from idle thoughts. your mother, no birth, no death, on the first day of the 9th month. P.S. The essence of Buddha's teaching is to enlighten all beings. If you become attached to any form, you are just an ignorant insect. There are 80,000 sutras, but if you do not see your own nature, they mean nothing. Understand this, and you understand my letter. 54. The Tea Master and the Assassin. Taiko, a warlord, studied the way of tea, Chinoyu under Senno Rikyu, a master of serenity. One of Taiko's staff officers, Kato, resented that attention to tea ceremony might neglect state affairs. He decided to kill Senno Rikyu. Feigning civility, Kato came to have tea. Rikyu, discerning Kato's intent, asked him to leave his sword outside, explaining that tea ceremony symbolized peace. "I am a samurai," Kato answered. "I always keep my sword, tea or no tea, I shall keep it with me." "So be it. Bring your sword," Rikyu agreed. He prepared tea, boiling water in a kettle. Suddenly, Rikyu overturned it, releasing a great gush of steam and ashes all over. Alarmed, Kato leaped outside. Rikyu apologized. "I was clumsy. Please come back inside for your tea. Let me wipe your sword, it is covered in ash." Realizing he had no chance to slay Rikyu, Kato abandoned his plan. 55. The True Way. Right before Ninakawa died, Zen Master Ikkyu visited him. "Shall I guide you?" Ikkyu asked. Ninakawa answered, "I came here alone and I go alone. What help could you be?" Ikkyu replied, "If you think you really come and go, that is a delusion. Let me show you the path where there is no coming and going." Using words, Ikkyu revealed the way, and Ninakawa smiled, passing away peacefully. 56. The Gate of Heaven. A samurai named Nobushin decided to attack an enemy army, though his own forces numbered just 1/10 of the opponents as he is. He was confident, but his soldiers doubted. On the way, he stopped at a Shinto shrine and said, "After I pay my respects, I will toss a coin. If heads, we shall win. If tails, we lose. Destiny will be revealed." He entered the shrine, silently prayed, then tossed a coin. Heads. His soldiers, emboldened, charged forth and won handily. No one can defeat destiny, Nobushin's aide told him after the victory. "Indeed not," Nobushin smiled, showing the coin which had heads on both sides. 57. Taking the statue into custody. One day, a merchant carrying 50 bolts of cloth rested beneath a large stone Buddha statue, using it for shade. He fell asleep, and upon waking, found his bolts had been stolen. Reporting this to Judge Oka, the judge declared, "This stone Buddha must have stolen your goods. He should have prevented the theft." Officials carried the statue to court, followed by a curious crowd wondering what sentence might be imposed. Once Oka appeared, he reproached the spectators. "You are all mocking the court fines for all of you unless each brings one bolt of cloth within 3 days." A merchant recognized one bolt among those returned. The real thief was discovered. The merchant got his bolts back and everyone else's cloth was returned. 58. Modern teachings. Some modern references to be killed by your master or teachers giving the final blow appear, possibly an omitted fragment regarding harsh training. We proceed to the next story from the original text. 59. Real repentance. Ryokan dedicated himself to practicing Zen. He learned that his nephew was wasting family wealth on a courtesan, causing relatives much grief, so they begged Ryokan to intervene. Ryokan traveled a great distance to see the nephew he had not met in years. The nephew greeted him warmly and invited him to stay overnight. Ryokan spent the night in meditation. The next morning, as Ryokan was leaving, he asked his nephew, "I'm old and my hands tremble. Can you help me tie my straw sandals?" The nephew eagerly complied. "Thank you," said Ryokan. "You see, as one ages, life fades every day. Take good care of yourself." Then he left, never mentioning the courtesan or any lectures. From that morning on, the nephew gave up his reckless life. 60. Controlling a ghost. A young wife grew ill and near death. "I love you too much to leave you," she told her husband. "Don't see another woman, or I will come back as a ghost and haunt you." Soon after, she died. The husband kept his promise for 3 months, but then fell in love again. Right after the engagement, his deceased wife's ghost started appearing every night, rebuking him. It described in detail everything he did with his fiancée. The ghost recited all conversations, leaving him sleepless and terrified. Finally, he sought help from a Zen master who said, "Your wife's spirit must be highly perceptive, knowing everything about you. Admire it. Next time she appears, bargain with her. Say you can't hide anything from her. But if she can answer a single question, you will break off the engagement. What should I ask?" The master replied, "Gather a handful of beans and ask exactly how many beans are in your hand. If the ghost cannot answer, you'll know it is only a delusion within your own mind." That night, the ghost reappeared. The husband praised it and then asked the spirit to tell him the number of beans in his hand. Silencino ghost was there anymore. 61. Children of the Emperor. Yamaoka Teshu was a teacher to the emperor, a master of swordsmanship, and a fervent Zen student. He owned only one set of clothes because he was constantly giving money away to help the poor. Seeing his shabby attire, the emperor presented him money to buy more clothes. But Yamaoka soon appeared again in the same old robes. "Where are your new clothes?" the emperor inquired. "Your Majesty," Yamaoka replied, "I have used them for your other children." 62. What are you doing? What am I saying? Some references to how Zen must be transmitted mind to mind, involving the story of Munan and Shoju. Munan had only one disciple named Shoju to pass on Zen. After long training, Shoju was summoned. "I am old," said Munan. "As I see it, only you can inherit my teaching. Here is a manuscript handed down through 7 generations. I have also added insights of my own. Please guard it as a sign of our lineage." "If it's so important," Shoju said, "better you keep it. I already received Zen from you without words or writing, and I'm satisfied." "I know that," Munan said, "but these masters have passed it down through 7 generations. Take it as proof of the tradition." As soon as Shoju accepted the manuscript, he threw it into the fire. Munan yelled, "What are you doing?" Shoju yelled back, "What are you saying?" 63. A tune from Zen. Kakua, said to be the first Japanese monk to study Zen in China, would not preach or make a show of his knowledge upon returning home. The emperor invited him to the palace for a demonstration. Kakua stood silently before the emperor, then drew a flute from his robe, played a single note, bowed politely, and departed. 64. Swallowing insult. While Fugai, a Zen master, and his disciples were temporarily housed in a temple, dinner preparation was delayed. The cook hurriedly gathered vegetables, chopping them into soup without realizing a piece of snake had been cut up and boiled. Everyone praised the soup's deliciousness. But Fugai found the snake's head in his bowl and summoned the cook. "What is this?" he demanded, holding up the snake's head. "Oh, thank you, master," the cook replied, snatching it and popping it into his mouth. 65. The most precious thing in the world. A disciple asked the Chinese Zen master, Sozan, "What is the most precious thing in the world?" Sozan replied, "The head of a dead cat." "Why is the head of a dead cat the most precious?" inquired the disciple. Sozan answered, "Because no one can put a price on it." 66. A letter for one who is dying. Basui wrote this letter to a disciple about to pass away. "Your mind, nature was never born, so it will never die. It is not an entity, subject to destruction. It is not emptiness like a void. It has neither form nor shape. It feels neither pain nor pleasure. I know you are very ill. As a good Zen student, examine your illness and ask, what is my original mind? Only concentrate on this. Nothing else matters. No desires. If you do this, your final moment will be full of infinite joy, like a snowflake melting in pure air." 67. A drop of water. Zen master Gisan once instructed a novice monk named Tekisui to bring a pail of water to cool his bath. Tekisui brought the bucket, then tossed the leftover water onto the ground. "You fool," the master scolded. "Why didn't you use it to water the plants? What right have you to waste even a single drop in this temple?" At that instant, the novice was enlightened. He changed his name to Tekisui, meaning a drop of water. 68. Teaching the essential point. Long ago in Japan, Zen instruction often happened behind closed doors, and no one was allowed to eavesdrop. Mokurai, abbot of Kennen, disliked such secrecy. He welcomed everyone, merchants, reporters, disciples. Once, a bath maker who barely understood Buddhist doctrines kept coming to ask trivial questions, drink a cup of tea, and leave. One day, Mokurai wanted to instruct a disciple in private, so he requested the bath maker wait outside. "I know you are a living Buddha," the bath maker objected. "Even stone Buddhas let people approach. Why can't I stay?" Mokurai had to step outdoors to continue the conversation privately with his disciple. 69. Three kinds of disciples. Zen master Gitan, who lived near the end of the Tokugawa era, used to say, "There are three kinds of disciples: those who spread the teachings, those who maintain temples, and those who are rice bags and clothes hangers." Gasan said the same. Once he told how Tekisue was so strict that some disciples left while Gasan stayed, occasionally receiving beatings. A mediocre disciple just wants to rely on the teacher. A better disciple admires the teacher's kindness. A truly great disciple grows strong under the teacher's harsh discipline. 70. How to write a Chinese poem. A famous Japanese poet was asked about the rules for composing a Chinese poem, a quatrain. He explained, "The usual form has 4 lines. 1. Introduction. 2. Development. 3. Turning or twist. 4. Conclusion." An example: 2 daughters of a silk merchant in Kyoto. The elder is 20, the younger 18. A warrior kills with his sword, but these girls slay men with their eyes. 71. A Zen dialogue. 2 novice monks from nearby temples were each tasked with errands to buy vegetables at the same market. One asked the other, "Where are you going?" The other replied, "Wherever my feet lead me." The first was nonplussed and told his abbot, who advised him, "Ask him the same question next time. If he gives the same answer, ask, 'If you have no feet, then where are you going?' That will correct him." They met again. "Where are you going?" the first monk asked. "Wherever the wind blows," the second replied. The first monk was again stumped and had no retort. He returned crestfallen. He changed his answer. 72. The final blow. Tangen studied under Sengai from boyhood until he was 20. He wanted to leave and seek other teachers, but Sengai refused. Each time Tangen asked, Sengai smacked him on the head with a stick. Finally, Tangen persuaded a senior monk to intercede. The elder monk negotiated Tangen's departure. Tangen thanked Sengai, but was again struck. The elder inquired, "Why is the master hitting you now after permitting you to go?" Sengai responded, "I just wanted to give him one last blow so that when he returns enlightened, I will have no reason to scold him again." 73. Mokurai's smell of swords. Variation on a story of being stern or scaring, possibly omitted or misnumbered, continuing the original sequence. 74. Ending greed. Another story of a young man's wrongdoing and Zen correction, a variant repetition. 75. Anger. A student complained to Benkei, "Master, I have an ungovernable temper. How can I cure it?" "Something very strange," answered Benkei. "Show me this temper." "Well, I cannot show it just now." "Then when can you show it?" Benkei asked. "It arises unexpectedly," the student explained. "Then it cannot be your real nature," replied Benkei. "If it were, you could show it to me any time. You were not born with it, and your parents did not give it to you. Think that over." 76. A stone mind. Hogan, a Chinese Zen teacher, lived in a small temple. 4 traveling monks once arrived asking to warm themselves by his fire. While sitting, they discussed subjectivity and objectivity. Hogan joined them and said, "There is a big stone. Do you consider it within or outside your mind?" One monk answered, "From the Buddhist viewpoint, all is an objectification of mind, so I would say that stone is in my mind." "Your head must feel heavy," Hogan observed, "carrying a stone like that around in your mind." 77. Untouched by the world. Zengetsu, a Chinese master of the Tang dynasty, wrote these guidelines for his disciples. "Live in the world without getting caught up in its dust. This is the way of a true Zen student. When you see someone act kindly, follow their example. When you hear of something evil, shun it. Even in a dark room, behave as if you had a noble guest. Express your feelings, but never go beyond your true nature. Poverty is your treasure, never barter it for an easy life. Someone may appear like a fool yet not be so. They may be carefully concealing their wisdom. Virtue is the fruit of self-discipline, not something falling from the sky like rain or snow. Humility is the cornerstone of all virtues. Let everyone else discover you before you make yourself known. A truly noble person never parades themselves. His words are precious as rare gems, scarcely displayed. For an earnest Zen student, each day is a lucky day. Time passes, yet they never lag behind. Neither fame nor disgrace affects them. Be strict with yourself, not with others. Don't argue about right and wrong. Some things, though correct, have been considered wrong for centuries. The value of what's correct might only be recognized long after its time, so why hurry for immediate appreciation? Live with cause and leave results to universal law. Pass each day in peaceful contemplation. 78. True prosperity. A wealthy man asked Zen master Singai to write something expressing the continued prosperity of his family so it might be treasured for generations. Singai wrote, "Father dies, son dies, grandson dies." Infuriated, the man exclaimed, "I asked for a sentiment of happiness and you make fun of me?" "Not at all," Singai explained calmly. "If your son should die before you, it would grieve you terribly. If your grandson were to go before your son, it would likewise bring sorrow. If each generation passes in orderly succession, father, then son, then grandson, that is the true prosperity of a family." 79. The incense burner. Kame, a woman in Nagasaki, was one of the rare artisans who could craft exquisite incense burners. Her father, also an artisan, had taught her. But Kame also loved drinking, smoking, and hosting parties. She socialized with men of all walks of life. In these lively gatherings, she found inspiration for her art. Kame worked slowly. When her piece was finished, it was outstanding. Her incense burners were prized by households whose wives would never dream of smoking or carousing. Once, the mayor of Nagasaki commissioned a burner and waited over 6 months. At last, he was promoted to another city and came to pick it up in a hurry. Finally, Kame finished it and placed it on a table. She spent all day gazing at it, sipping her drink and smoking, as if it were her companion. Suddenly, she seized a hammer and smashed it to pieces, crying out that it was not a masterpiece worthy of her vision. 80. A quiet temple. Shoichi was a one-eyed Zen master, thoroughly awakened, guiding disciples at Tofuku Temple. The entire temple was silent day and night. There was no chanting, for Shoichi forbade it. There was only zazen. When Shoichi passed away, a nearby old lady heard the sound of chanting and temple bells. She remarked, "It must be that Shuichi has died." 81. The Buddha Zen. The Buddha taught, "I see the positions of kings and rulers as grains of dust in a sunbeam. I see treasures of gold and gems as though they were bricks and pebbles. I see the finest silk robes as tattered rags. I see myriad worlds of the universe as small seeds of fruit, and the largest lake in India as a drop of oil on my foot. I see various forms of the world as a painter's illusions. I see the path of the highest teaching as gold thread in a dream, and the teachings of the Buddhas as flowers in the eye. I see meditation as a pillar supporting a mountain, nirvana as a nightmare in daylight. I see judgments of right and wrong as the serpentine dance of a dragon, and the rise and fall of belief as traces left by the 4 seasons.